Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, we're gonna be making some Christmas ornaments, one of my favorite things to make this time of year. They're simple, easy, they'd be fun to do with your kids, make as gifts, or just a fun project to do maybe while you watch some Christmas movies. Anyways, they're so fun and simple. They have a little bit of a vintage twist, at least in my opinion, but I hope that you enjoy these. Let's get started. I picked up this ornament from the Christmas craft section from Hobby Lobby. You can see the price tag says $1.99. They're at least 50% off, and if it was in my stash, that means I bought it when it was more than 50% off. So it's a great base for DIY, and I wanted to do something kind of, I don't know, in my mind it felt classic. So I mixed together this red paint with a little bit of black paint. I wanted it to be a little bit, I don't know, not as vibrant, I guess. But I gave this, really only took one good coat. I just had to kind of do one side, and then I did dry it with my heat gun. Not like on a low temp. Didn't want to get it hot, too hot, because you don't want the paint to get sticky. But that way I could turn it over and paint the other side. And we're just going to give this a good base coat of red paint. And I let that dry thoroughly. I think I let it dry overnight, partially just because I'm busy right now. But I have this gold metallic paint, and I wanted to highlight the edges, and I wanted it to look, I didn't mind it looking like hand painted and not perfect. So if this is not the look you like, you might want to use a paintbrush, or you might want to tape it off with some painter's tape. But I'm just dipping my finger in this gold paint, and I'm going along each of the edges. So we're highlighting the shape of the ornament, and the shape of the ornament in and of itself kind of looks more traditional to me, a little bit more old school, or as a viewer said, old-timey. And so I know that the lines are not perfect on this, but that's okay. If you look at hand-painted ornaments that you even can pay good money for, I'm not saying this is worth good money, but if you look at those, they don't all have just these perfect, pristine lines. They look hand-painted. And so I'm just going over this with my finger, a gentle touch. I'm alternating what fingers I'm using to get that gentle touch, and we're just going to go over the edges. And that is all I did for this DIY, for this ornament. I love how this one came out. I went a little bit extra on the top and the bottom just to highlight them, and that is it. So let me know what you think of this one. For this ornament, we're going to start with an ornament from Dollar General. Once again, it says it was $1. I definitely paid less than that. Probably likely 25 cents or maybe even less. So I did not have all of my handy dandy tools here. I was trying to pop off this metal piece, but the Dollar General ones are made pretty decently. So it was some staples in there, and it took me a little while, but I wasn't filming when I finally got it figured out. So we are going to just pry that off. I'm trying to be careful because I do want to reuse that metal piece. That second one actually broke through. The staple stayed on the ornament. So I'm just pressing down the metal. It's just fine. Pulled out the other staple. And I'm sorry my camera is shaking the way I have my current setup, which is just temporary. My camera is mounted to the table surface that I'm working with. But we're going to sand this down. I'm using my finger sander. I don't have to get it all of it off, but it will have just better paint coverage if I can get most of that off. So I'm going to sand down really good on the red, and then also sand off that writing in the middle. And this was actually a pretty cute ornament by itself, but anyways, we're going to just sand that down, and we have a clean slate. So when you're looking at stuff at the end of the season clearance, just look at the shape and what it's made of to see if it's something that you think you can do your own little DIY with. We're going to give this a good coat of white paint. I'm using Waverly chalk paint. I think that was Snow White. I am trying to, this ornament has the ridges for like slats, almost like it was a shiplap kind of thing. And so I'm wanting to leave the wood or the paint out of that line as best I can. So I'm just doing my best to do that. We're going to end up cleaning it up later anyway, but that's kind of why I'm going a little bit more cautiously here. But it really only took one coat of paint, but it might take more. And then once that was fully dry, we're going to put a good coat of Mod Podge on and let that dry. Now, I was intending to bring over my mini iron to my craft space. I've said in previous videos I'm currently crafting at my parents' because we are in the process of moving, and this way I don't have my craft stuff everywhere, which is such a huge blessing. And I forgot to bring over my mini iron, and I could have gone back home because my current home is in the same neighborhood as my parents. Unfortunately, we're leaving the neighborhood and moving further away. But I didn't go home to get the mini iron. I could have also asked my mom to use a household iron. So mini iron's great. Household iron, you just want to use no steam and put down your tissue paper or napkin or whatever and a piece of parchment paper and then iron it. Well, I decided, I've heard people say maybe your heat gun would work. So here is my answer on this. It does work. It does work. But you need to be careful when you use your heat gun at a really high temp. I usually don't use it at a very high temp. So I actually almost burnt a little bit of the paper and I melted my mat a little bit. You can see there. So, and it's not as smooth. The iron-on method really gives you a smooth look. So it worked and it's not bad. It's not like horribly wrinkled, but hey, I experimented and it turns out it worked. So, but I would definitely recommend the iron-on method. I think works a lot better. I am gently just going to sand away to get the excess tissue paper off. I love this tissue paper. I've used it many times. I think it was from the Dollar Tree at one point. I'm noticing there that there's some wrinkles on the tissue paper, but it's very pretty. So I painted the ornament white because you would see, you know, the background through the tissue paper, but use any tissue paper or you could use a napkin. You could also Mod Podge paper on, but I really just like this ornament. So as you see, I kind of use a tool to break through the tissue paper on the cracks there. And then I'm going to cover this with Mod Podge, and then we're going to go back and kind of clean up those edges again. So this didn't have as good of adherence as when I do the iron-on method, so I needed that coat of Mod Podge on top. And I'm trying to avoid the cracks again where the faux shiplap, I don't know what else to call it, is, because I wanted to clean that up. So I tried going in with a little piece of sandpaper, but that was really tearing up my tissue paper, and I think it's because it just wasn't glued as much as if I'd used the iron. So I'm using my little pick. This is I think it's a vinyl tool from the Dollar Tree. And then I'm also using, which I think is also for vinyl, that scraper tool. I use them for all sorts of things, to hold down the edge of the tissue paper. And then I slowly just went through and just kind of picked away at that because I wanted you to be able to see those lines. I wanted it to look like it was some wood slats. So I'm just showing you how I made that happen. Maybe not the quickest route to happen, but it did work. I decided that the metal piece, I didn't want it to be that silvery metal, so we're going to paint it, and to help the paint stick better, I did do a base coat of Mod Podge, and then we're going to go in with this gold metallic paint. This took, I think, about 3 coats in order for it to get some good coverage, but I wanted that shiny gold. That just feels old-timey, vintagey, traditional to me. And I used my heat gun carefully in between. I lowered that. That's still not at a high temp there because you just don't want to do that. And then I did probably coat it again with Mod Podge, but I don't think I showed that. Once my metal piece was fully coated, I had, I think, like I said, 3 coats, and it was all dry, and I had the Mod Podge on. I just wanted to make sure if there was an up and down. It was about the same, but it looked better one way or the other, so I chose that. And I'm just using some hot glue to attach that. Just be careful because hot glue on metal will be hot. So I'm using my little finger protector kind of to press that down. But I love how this came out. Let me know what you think. There are so many different options when you find an ornament. Maybe it's on clearance or it's just from your stash that you don't like or use anymore. There's so many different ways that you can make it over and have it fit your style and your taste. This beaded garland came from Dollar General. Originally $4. I probably paid $1 for it is my guess. And I'm going to make that over. So we're going to cut off the tassel and reuse that in the future. And I'm going to take off some beads here. This is such a simple one. I'm basically taking beads. They're already colored, so I didn't need to paint them. And I'm just making a little pattern, and we're going to thread them onto some twine and make a little ornament. This reminds me of something that maybe you would see that was done with more like of a crystal-y bead instead of a wood bead. I was struggling So I'm just taping up the end of the twine to help thread that through, and that made this process go a bit faster. But there are lots of, I don't know, I feel like I've seen things like this, but this is, I mean, this is super simple. We're just stringing up some beads, and I chose a size pattern and a color pattern. And then I'm just going to tie the top with a loop. And I don't know if I love this as the hanger, but I don't know how else I would do it unless I just put a knot in it and put an old like metal hook in it. I feel like I might like that a little bit better than the twine loop to hang it on the tree, but whatever. It's what I did. So, and then at the bottom, I'm just going to do a knot, and I will put a dab of hot glue to help secure that well. And that is it for this one. It's hardly a DIY, but it is because I did it myself. But I just think, again, it gives that old vintagey feel, and there's a lot of different variations of this that you could do. Moving along, I have this ball ornament. You can get these at Dollar Tree. You can get them at any craft store, Walmart, wherever. And I saw something like this somewhere, and I thought, this is so cute and simple to do. And again, I feel like I'm repeating myself, but like the vintagey look to me is like do it yourself that may even look like you did it yourself. And it's just simplicity is how things were. And so I'm just taking these red pipe cleaners or red chenille stems. They're kind of a red sparkly. I cut them into smaller pieces, wrap them around the end of a paintbrush, and I'm just feeding these into this ball. So this is another super quick, just DIY ornament idea. Pop the top back on, and I just used a thin silver string that was from a pack of probably another ornament to hang this up. Just a classic ornament hook would work as well. And I just think it sparkles and looks so pretty. It's going to look great on a tree where the lights are going to pick up on all of that. It's simplicity to the max, but still really pretty, at least in my opinion. I have another bead garland that I picked up from clearance from Dollar General, and this one we're going to use some of the beads, and then we're also in another DIY going to use that Christmas tree. So save everything when you take stuff apart. So I am picking out the green beads, and once again, I don't have to paint them. This is fantastic, and I'm just going to pull out what I want, and we're going to make another pattern based on the size, but you could also do multiple colors as well. If you are new to my channel, welcome. My name is Leanne, and I like sharing budget-friendly DIYs here on my channel. And sometimes we do more intricate things, and sometimes we just keep them super simple. I like them to be attainable, doable for you, and not overcomplicate things. Sometimes I like to use different tools, but I also like to use basic things that anybody has on hand so that you can just feel like you can dive into some DIYing even if you don't have all of the things. So first I wanted to try this white to twine, and that ended up taking me a little while to get the beads on it, but once I did, I threaded them on in the pattern that I wanted, but I wanted to make a little beaded or wreath ornament, and it did not have the shape that I wanted to. No matter how tightly I packed the beads on, it was still just going to be a floppy looking wreath. That was simply not the look I was going for, so I took one of those red chenille stems, and I am just going to thread that through. Now, instead of restringing the whole thing, I figured while they were on the string, let me see if I can fit the pipe cleaner through there, and I was able to do so. The pipe cleaner it's not hard. Most of you know what they're like. Not like it can't be molded and bent, but it definitely is going to hold the shape a lot better than just that little thin string thread was going to do. So once I got all of the beads moved over onto the pipe cleaner, I'm just twisting them at the top to make our little wreath. And then I wanted to add a little bow. And I thought, what is more vintagey looking than a red sparkly pipe cleaner? So I'm just taking one of those and we're just twisting it onto itself. You know, they're wire, so this is pretty simple to do. I was able to even redo it a couple of times, and we're making a bow. And then I decided I did not like using the excess pipe cleaner for the hanger. I just didn't like it. So I'm twisting it on really good so that the beads don't come undone. And then we're going to trim that down. You can put a little dab of hot glue on there to help ensure that you hold it, or ensure that it holds. I'm using a white thread here for my hanger for now. I will be cutting off that white thread and using an old like metal Christmas tree hook on this in the future, but once again, I don't have all my Christmas stuff out and I'm not about to take it out because we're moving. So I did the white string for now, and we're going to put a little dab of hot glue on top to hold on our red, I was going to say our red ribbon, our red bow. And this is, to me, a very sweet vintagey ornament. This one was another quick and simple one to do. Not a whole lot to it, but a lot of variation, anything for the ribbon, any different pattern or colors for the beads. This is more of a blue-green, or I'm sorry, a blue-green than like a Christmassy green, but I still really like how this one came out. For the Christmas tree that I pulled off of a beaded garland that I got on clearance, we're going to make another ornament. So I'm using my heat gun to just soften that adhesive. This allows the sticker to come off really easily. And then we are going to Mod Podge. My intention was to make this a double, like leave the other side as is. So, you know, ornaments turn around, so you want both sides to look great. But we're going to Mod Podge that with a nice good coat. And I have this pack of paper that I have from Hobby Lobby and pulled out this holly and berry pattern. I think it has a nice old-timey look. I'm coining the phrase. I can't remember which one of my viewers said that, but I like it. I'm not coining it. I'm using her phrase, old-timey. I'm using my brayer to really adhere that on. Once again, the iron-on method would work well here, but I gave that a good amount of time to dry, and then I'm going in with my little scissors, and I'm cutting here the best I can to get it. It's kind of hard because they're curved at the points, and you can't really do that with, you know, little pointed scissors. If you're enjoying this video and you like budget-friendly, quick DIYs, please give this video a thumbs up. That helps out my channel. It lets YouTube know that you're liking it. That makes them more likely to share it with others. It's such an easy way to help out a creator. So I am very carefully sanding the rest of the edges to get the excess paper off. I am sanding away from the paper, and this was taking the paint off the edge of the ornament as well, and so I just kind of went with it and I really roughed it up all the way around. But this did, and then I did fold up some sandpaper to try to get in the corners there. This did end up breaking off a little bit from the back side of the ornament because it's just an MDF. This is not like wood, so I really do need to go back and probably touch up the other side so that with paint, I'll probably just paint it so that it just looks nice on the other side since ornaments do turn around. Once that was all done, I used my scissors to poke back through that hole that was originally there. And we're going to thread through some twine. This was twine taken off of a sign from the Dollar Tree. So it has these little plastic pieces on the ends, like kind of like the ends of shoelaces. So I end up cutting them off, but it did make it easier to thread this through. Just make sure when you tie on whatever you're using for your hanger on an ornament that you do it in a fashion that will still allow the ornament to hang facing forward. And then I did thread a little red bead on there from one of the beaded garlands that I had taken apart just for that little pop, and I thought it pulled out the berries in the paper that I chose. And that is it for this little ornament. Let me know what you think. I love these quick and easy DIYs, super simple and very, very budget friendly. All right, well, that is going to do it for today's video. If you liked it, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. That helps me out so much, and it helps, those interactions help make sure that maybe YouTube will notify you the next time I post a video because they see you interacting and that you're enjoying it. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye, guys.